So good morning and welcome to today's D-Link webinar, looking at our range of Layer 2 and Layer 3 switching products. My name is Phil Tarbox, the National Sales Manager for Business Solutions for D-Link. It's great to have your company here today, wherever you are joining in across Australia, New Zealand, or from anywhere else in the rest of the world. As always, I've got my esteemed colleague, Ilya, that is beside me, the Commercial Product Manager for D-Link. Ilya, it's great to have you here again with us today. I'm also really pleased to welcome three of our partners from around Australia joining us today as well. Wayne Small, Technology Specialist from Correct Solutions, is online. Wayne, great to have you here today.
Thanks for letting me be here.
Terrific. Mitch Colton, Managing Director from Colton Computer Technologies. Mitch is going to be talking to us about helping us choose the right switch. And Mitch, welcome aboard.
Thanks, Phil. Nice to be here.
Great. And we also have from Telair, we have Chris Bateman, the General Manager, and John Daniels, the Network Manager, that are joining us today. And they'll be talking a little bit about their experience with D-Link, in particular our DXS 5000 series of data center switches. Good morning and welcome, Chris and John.
Thanks, Phil.
Morning, Phil. Thanks.
Okay, so without any further ado, let's have a look at what we will be covering today. So, a quick overview of D-Link, a quick look at our switch range without getting into too many speeds and feeds about product. And then I guess we've got some the more interesting part of the webinar today to actually hear from some of our partners. So Mitch will be looking at which switch is right for me, helping you choose the right switch for your customer. As you'll see in just a moment, there's a very wide range of D-Link switches, and Mitch has got pretty good experience across almost our entire range of product. Wayne's going to give you his experience of being an end customer, but also of being a partner encountering support and training with D-Link. Chris and John are going to talk about their experience with the D-Link data center switches, and then we'll have a brief look about some of the benefits of partnering with D-Link, and then we'll have all of your questions right at the end. So please keep them coming in the Q&A box at the top or bottom of your screen, depending on how you've got Zoom set up. So, without any further ado, let's get started. So, a little bit about D-Link, and in particular the D-Link for Business range of product. So, D-Link has been around for a good 34 years, founded in 1986. And of course, we've got a really great pedigree and really well known, certainly within the Australia and the New Zealand market, for having a really solid range and footprint in the home consumer networking market space. Certainly back in 1986, there was no home consumer networking. There was no Wi-Fi. That was just a blink or a twinkle in somebody's eye that hadn't quite yet been born. So what was D-Link doing back in 1986? My first product was an Ethernet network card aimed at going into businesses, and certainly we've been a very big supporter in building a comprehensive range of networking equipment for small, medium, and large businesses. So much so that, according to Gartner, we're number one in standalone wireless access points. And number 3 for worldwide gigabit switch ports shipped. So there's a huge amount of D-Link product that is out there, and we continue to grow each year. In terms of switching, we go all the way right from the core, all the way out to the edge of your network. And of course, we've got a comprehensive range of wireless networking products and IP surveillance as well. But here today, we're here to have a look at our switching product. Of course, within switching, we've got a really wide product range. I certainly believe that our technical training is second to none, and hopefully we'll hear from Wayne a little bit later on that will echo that sentiment as well. We've had a really big commitment to undertaking training all the way across the country, visiting some far and away places like Townsville, like Darwin. And Mitch, I think we've even made a special effort all the way out to Orange to come and train some of your team as well. So from any vendor that you, our partners or our end customers are working with, of course, we give you the support that you expect. And these are what we like to call the three shields of dealing with D-Link. We offer a limited lifetime warranty, the only limit being that when a product goes end of sale, that a product has 5-year warranty, with most of our products having anywhere between a 4 and 6-year lifespan. So it's a pretty solid warranty that is available to all of our customers. Next business day advanced replacement is available as standard. And of course, there's lifetime technical support, which is available as standard as well. One of the other differentiating features of dealing with D-Link is that for all of these features that you get here, warranty, advanced replacement, and support, there's no additional charge for any of those services. They're all included in the one-time cost of the product. So certainly that is what we like to call the D-Link difference, is that everything you expect is all wrapped up into the one-time cost that you pay for our product. So let's have a look at our range of switches. So you can see we go from a really basic unmanaged switch, our DGS 1000 series of product, going all the way up to our data center and top of rack series. The 5000 series and the DXS 3600 series are a couple of newer models in our range of product. And then we've then got a whole bunch of products in there in between. Now that can certainly seem a little bit daunting to try and figure out which product is going to be right for me and which product is right for my customer. I'll certainly look forward to hearing from Mitch a little bit later on this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are, to hearing about how he goes about selecting the right product for his customer. Of course, we've gone and put together a matrix which lists all of the key features. Now that's probably difficult to read on your screen, and there's certainly a lot of information that's included in here. There's certainly 3 or 4 key things in here which we believe are really fundamental to helping you choose the right product for your customer. One of those is around 10 gig or 10 gigabit connectivity. Certainly we're starting to see that a lot of people are starting to look at this. We're seeing more and more servers, storage appliances, and of course interconnects between switches are starting to demand faster speeds. So running that over fiber, or SFP plus as it happens to be known, is certainly something well worth considering when you're going about and selecting a switch. And that starts at our DGS 1510 series of product. We're also starting to see that 10 gig copper is something that people are wanting to look at as well, where we're seeing network attached storage appliances from leading vendors, and of course servers that are coming standard with these copper or RJ45 connectivity options as well. So certainly getting those as a standard offering is something that's worthwhile considering as well. Something else that's important is of course stacking. Now that stacking makes particular sense when I'm trying to connect multiple switches together. And there's 2 benefits there. I want to have a really fast connection between those switches, and I also want to have a single IP address that I'm managing those switches from as well. So stacking is something to have a look at. Again, that starts at our DGS 1510 series of product as well. Now, as networks start to get more and more complex, as we start to build in more and more VLANs, and if you're interested in learning more about switching technology, VLANing, routing, and so on, I'd certainly commend you to go and have a look at some of the training that we've been running online. There's some training webinars that we've been running on switching over the last 3 weeks, and certainly you can go and catch up on those things online and join us next Thursday for the final in our series of 3 on switching, where we start to cover some other advanced switching features and features that are built into D-Link switching as standard. But one of those things is, as networks get more and more complicated, is around the routing as to where that is actually done, whether that's handled via software in the switch or whether that's handled via hardware. Certainly as you start to get into a fully managed switch, that's where the benefits of those really start to come into play with with routing being done on a dedicated processor or hardware. So there, a couple of key things to look at when you're looking at selecting a switch is taking a look at some of these features. Of course, there's more things in there as well that may well be more suited to your customer also. So let's have a quick look at some of the switches in our range today. DGS 1210 series of switch. This is far and away our most popular series of switch today. And all of these features that you can see here are available in our entire range of switching going up from the 1210. Certainly things like auto voice VLANs, auto surveillance VLANs. These features are very, very useful for people that are wanting to go and get networks up and running very, very quickly. These sorts of features are certainly well worth considering and learning about how to go and implement these for your customers. We're also starting to see our extended PoE budgets or our MP or max power series of switches starting to become more popular as well. With more and more PoE devices that are starting to draw larger amounts of power, think a IP phone with a very large LED or LCD display on it, think a Wi-Fi 6 access point, or think a pan-tilt zoom IP camera. All of these devices are drawing more and more power over Ethernet power, and they need more power. So an MP series of product delivering you at least 15 watts per port is certainly something worth considering. And these products are available in our 1210 range of product. If indeed you are a D-Link partner, you will find inside of our partner portal, you will find these battle cards that help you to be able to compare a D-Link product to some of the other vendors that you might be competing with as well, which may well help you to be able to go and win that piece of business with your customer where you might be competing with another reseller who's looking at selling them a competing brand. And of course, all of those 3 shields of D-Link, warranty, next business day replacement and support are all included on this document as well. Next up from that is our DGS 1510 Smart Pro series of managed switches. Won't go into into all the details in here, but there's a couple of things I want to draw your attention to. Of course, this was the first switch that offers 10 gig connectivity. So SFP plus, our fiber connectivity, both for stacking and for uplink. A maximum stacking bandwidth of 40 gig. So a very, very fast connection going there between those switches. This is also the first in the series of switches which introduces a redundant power supply. Redundant power supply serves 2 features. So one, should the power supply fail in the original switch, that's going to continue working, but it also increases that PoE or power over Ethernet budget. In this case, out from 370 watts to 740 watts. So it helps you to be able to go and power all of those additional PoE devices that you may need to have connected. So so here's an example as to a customer, and we'll be hearing from Wayne from Correct Solutions a little bit later on about this installation out at Vineyard Church, which did use a mixture of our switches, both the 1510 and the 1210 series of switches, along with some wireless access points and a wireless controller as well. So again, we've got great pedigree in our product going out in small, medium and large installations. Of course, on the 1510 series inside of our partner portal, you'll find our battle cards there as well. Coming upwards from that, we have our 3130 series. This is the first in our fully managed range of switching. So with all of the routing being done via hardware, via a dedicated processor. Of course, as we move up the range, we start to get some additional features like 80 gig stacking. Of course, that makes the network run even faster. Those interconnects between all the switches are just that little bit quicker. So as you need more performance, have a look at the 3130 series. There may be some reason for your customer to have a look at that. Of course, there's some layer 3 features or light layer 3 features which are available in that switch as well. In addition to that, this is the first of our switches which introduces 10 gig over copper or 10 gig over RJ45. So certainly we're starting to see servers, network attached storage devices that are coming as standard with 10 gig network cards. And this is of course a really cost effective way at being able to deliver 10 gig networking. A little bit later on, we'll have a look at a different type of cabling that you might need for that as well. Of course, we've got battle cards available in our partner portal on this series of product as well. Looking upwards to our 3630 series of product, these are a fully featured layer 3 stackable switch. So coming standard with the product is our standard software image, which gives you those features that you can see below there. There is additional licenses that you can purchase, either the enhanced image or the MPLS image. And we've certainly seen a good number of these go out just even in the last 3 or 4 months as partners and customers have been looking to upgrade their data centers and upgrade their core networks and taking advantage of perhaps a little bit of downtime to go and to do these things as well. So please, if you've got any questions about this, please talk to your D-Link account manager or to talk to the pre-sales engineer that works with you in your region. 3630 series, these have been deployed up at Haileybury Rendell School in Darwin. There's a couple of those in addition to a whole bunch of 1510 series switches. You can see there the significant number of 10 gig fiber modules that have been used for interconnects going between the 1510s back to the 3630 series of switch, which is also a nice lead on going into our DXS 3600 series of switch, which they have operating at the core of their network. More on the 3600 in just a moment. We have also introduced just recently a dedicated 10 gig switch. This is coming down into at a similar range of the DGS 1210 series of switch. So a really cost-effective way of being able to deliver 10 gig and to aggregate your all of your 10 gig connections out around the edge of your network as well. Up on the central coast of New South Wales, Central Coast Community College have used this at the core of their network to connect in 8 edge switches, the DGS 1510 28P, along with numerous access points and a wireless net and a wireless LAN controller as well. You'll find all of these case studies at our website at dlink.com.au. If you go through to the business section, and you'll find a case study section there as well. So if we look at 10 gig, and we do get questions from time to time as people asking us questions as to what sort of cable do I need? Do I need a specific type of cable? Well, I guess the answer is it depends, and it really depends on the type of length that you're needing to run that cable. So if you've got your server or your network attached storage device that happens to be in the same rack or in the same area of your, as to where your switch is, then a normal piece of Cat6 cable is going to be quite fine. That'll give you 10 gig speeds going all the way out to 37 meters. If you need something a little bit longer, then you do need to have a look at some different type of cable that is going to be able to support that. Now, it should well be noted, as Ilya does point out to myself and my team fairly regularly, that using 10 gig over copper, there is higher latency that you will see as opposed to using it over fiber. But certainly, it's very convenient to use that over copper, and in that a lot of this cable is generally either going to be patched into a wall already, or you're going to have that sort of cable handy and available to you. So I'd certainly commend the DXS 1210 range of product to you as well. I alluded to just a little bit beforehand, the DXS 3600 series of product. Certainly a great way for SMEs, for education, and also in the enterprise to be able to deliver some high speed, very, very powerful networking going at the core, bringing in redundancy using features like VRRP to be able to offer redundancy and to be able to deliver a really great networking experience. One of our early adopters of this technology is Victory Lutheran College in Wodonga in Victoria. Again, they've got a pretty significant edge network, all running D-Link switching. and they've got 3 of these DXS S3600 32Ss at the core of their network as well. So if you've got any questions about that, Aaron Bilton was our pre-sales engineer based in Melbourne, was very hands-on with that installation and configuration. And certainly David continues to be a very happy IT manager out at Victory Lutheran as well. Right at the top of the tree of our series of product is our DXS 5000 series of product, our data center switches. And I'm really pleased that we've got John and Chris from Telair that are joining us to talk a little bit about the way that they've used these switches to be able to implement those and how that's helped them and helped their business as well. So whether it's a leaf spine or a top of rack architecture, there's lots of ways that these switches can be used. And of course, with the 10 gig connectivity that are on these switches, of course, they integrate really well with our 1510, 3130 and 3630 series of switches to be able to go and make the most of that of that high-speed connectivity as well. We've also produced a really good case study regarding this. We'll be talking about that a little bit later on in the session today. But we will also, of course, you can go and find this at our website as well at dlink.com.au/business. A range of product that has come into our range probably about 18 months ago, which we've had a really good degree of success with. And certainly in Australia, we've got a pretty harsh environment, certainly in terms of our summers anyway, is our range of industrial switches. We've got 2 series of product, an unmanaged switch, the DIS 100G series of products, of which we've got 5 and 8 port products, and our smart managed switches, the DIS 200G, where we've got some 12 ports, both PoE and non-PoE products. All of these are rated up to 75 degrees, going as cold as -40. They are IP30 rated, so that means that there is a rating there for dust, not for water, which is what the 0 means in that IP rating. All of these switches are all DIN rail mountable. They've got flexible power inputs going from 12 out to 54 volts of power. We've seen some really great uses of these going into mining, into utilities. There's a couple of prisons which are running these switches, and of course warehouses as well. So if you've got a harsher environment that you're not quite sure that a standard switch is going to be up to standard, then take a look at the range of D-Link industrial switches. There's plenty of places that these are being used today. Of course, these all come with the D-Link lifetime warranty, lifetime support, and next business day advanced replacement. Last but not least, in our quick wrap up of our range of switches is our Nucleus cloud managed switch. This is the newest product launched into our range just at the end of last year. And if you're not yet familiar with Nucleus, certainly, and if you're a managed service provider, it'd certainly be worthwhile having a look at this. We've got a good number of MSPs around the country that are using these products today that are benefiting from a single console to be able to manage all of their switching and wireless from zero-touch configuration and a very, very simple way of being able to manage and monitor and to maintain their customer networks as well. It was a webinar that we held about 6 weeks ago. You'll find a recording of it on our website. I would certainly commend you to go and have a look at that and to have a look at the range of Nucleus cloud managed switches. Okay, so I'd now like to welcome Mitch Colton to talk a little bit about which is the right switch for my customer. Good morning, Mitch, and welcome.
Hello.
Hello, nice to have you on board this morning.
That's all right, mate. So, where do you want me to start this conversation?
Well, I just really, I think everybody here would benefit from a good dose of honesty from Mitch. Although I know that's pretty much all that we're going to get from you, which is one of the reasons that I asked you to participate here today. So firstly, actually, what might be a good thing is just to tell us a little bit about yourself and Colton Computer Technologies. We'd also like to see your smiling face as well, if we could.
Oh yeah, if you let me do my video, I will.
Oh, sure, no problem.
Oh yeah, look at that. Awesome. So I'm Mitch Colton. Hi. I've got an MSP in Orange. We cover, I don't know, a 200-kilometre circle around Orange in the Central West. Been doing this now for 15 years. Got about 18 staff. Main verticals are professional services, medical, mining, industrial support, and then an amount of co-managed IT for some larger businesses.
Okay.
And a healthy dose of manufacturing.
Well, I'm not. I think there's a large range of D-Link switches that you've managed to sell. I'm not sure that you've done any of our industrial switches yet, Mitch.
No, I haven't. I've done everything from the 1100 series, 11, a bucket load of 1200, a fair bit of 1500. We've got a couple of sites running 3120, which was the predecessor to 3130, and an amount of 3130. And now we've got a heap of nucleus out there. So our go-to, I guess, one of the areas we're probably more mature in is that we dictate what the client is going to have at their site. We don't just support anything. So we're a D-Link switch shop. We use an amount of Sophos firewalls, but that's pretty much like, that's our network stack. That's how we do it. And that makes our life very easy because all my guys have been trained by the lovely D-Link, and that's good. So where we go into switch selection, we've got now where we used to use a lot of 2110, 1210. Yeah, 1210. We're using a lot of DBS 2000 now in the nuclear stuff. Look, from an MSP point of view, the nucleus thing makes a lot more sense because you log into one portal, you manage it, it's easy. Tech doesn't have to go, oh, what's the IP of that switch? Oh, I don't have a computer to jump into. Oh, I can't get to it to make a change. Oh, firmware updates pain in the ass. So that makes the central management of those really, really good.
Okay.
And the techs love it. We've got an amount of 1510. Our main server room here in town's got a 1510 stack. We've got several clients with 1510 stacks. The split generally for us is, and when we make the decision, is that if we have one main comms room and we can do a stack, we'll do 1510 because the stacking is really nice. You get to log into a single interface, manage all the ports, happy days, life is easy. If you have a manufacturing site or a larger campus, your nuclear stuff is going to be a lot easier because you don't have to log into 50 interfaces to configure it.
Sure.
Yes, you don't necessarily get that backbone, but you probably don't need that backbone. Keeping in mind, and this is sort of a firewall sizing thing as well as the switch sizing thing, if the client's only got 100 meg 40 in theory NBN connection, doesn't matter. Like if they're a cloud native business and they've only got 100 meg internet connection, selling them on a 40 gig fiber backbone is total overkill, not fit for purpose. And quite often, you know, when we're going into, I guess, competitive tender environments, you know, the other people are quoting, you know, oh, we've got a 40 gig backbone and we've got all this stuff. It's like, but you don't have any servers on site. You have no infrastructure on site. You're feeding WAPs. So do you need that? And is that appropriate? And then we use 3130s in our DC. Generally, we don't, and this is purely just a company choice thing for us. We do all our routing in firewall land. That's just a us security decision.
Sure.
So we don't use a lot of the any of the layer 3 features. We use everything as a layer 2 switch. We certainly have 15 all the 3130s because they've got redundant power in them. And yeah, I personally don't like the 1100 series because the web interface annoys me and the text, it's different. So we're all about the less things.
Yep.
And really the price jump going from an 1100 into a 1210 is bugger all. So just use
Okay.
1210s.
Yeah.
Any other loaded questions for me, Phil?
I don't know what you're talking about. So, so how did you come to work with D-Link? So I don't think you've been a customer for that long. It'd be probably
A certain
under 3
gentleman
years.
called Michael Crocombe hunted me down and wouldn't let me go anywhere until I bought some D-Link product.
Okay. So what's your, so as a newer customer to D-Link, what's your experience like, and how's it been in comparison to other switching vendors that you'd worked with?
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say all vendors in general. I get more visits from my D-Link rep than I do from any other vendor that I do business with, and I do a significant amount of business with some reasonably large vendors. And yeah, no, D-Link's really good. Like, honestly, from a partnershipy, working relationship, D-Link are fantastic. And yes, this is recorded, Phil, and you can pay me after.
Okay, no problem.
But no, genuinely, it's really good. Back in when I was an apprentice, when I had hair, we used to use the old GS 804Ts, which were like a little ADSL VPN router from D-Link. And so, like, I've on and off had dealing with D-Link for many years, but certainly in the last couple of years have gone full blown into their switching product, and I'm super happy with it.
Great. Now, I imagine your customers are happy as well, or perhaps it sounds like maybe your customers don't care.
The trick is the customer doesn't care. They just want to know that the thing works, and they pay me money every month. I give them the working thing. They're happy.
Yep. Okay. Terrific. Now, are you happy to stick around for the Q&A at the end, Mitch? Anyone's got any questions to shoot them through?
Awesome. Thanks, Bill.
Great. Thank you, Mitch. Okay. Wayne Small. Wayne's going to talk a little bit about training and some in customer experience. And Wayne, you've got a pretty interesting, I guess, perspective on working with D-Link. But before you tell us about that, perhaps tell us a little bit about Correct Solutions and yourself.
Yeah, look, thanks, Phil. Correct Solutions, we've been around 23 years now. We've got about 60 odd staff. So we're not really necessarily a small reseller anymore. My role there is I basically am, I won't say the head tech, but one of the lead techs in designing what we do for our customers and how we do things. So yeah, we've been around for a bit. I've done a lot of speaking. Some of you might recognize me from the SBS days. I used to do a lot of public speaking around a small business server. That's no longer around, so I'm a little bit sad about that, but hey, we all move on.
Great. Okay, so you're across a whole lot of technology. So I guess you're the go-to technology man. What about networking? Are you how comfortable are you with networking?
Look, honestly, Phil, when it comes to Windows, I know it pretty well inside out, back to front, and upside down. So I would call myself a Windows guy. I'm not necessarily a networking guy. I know enough to be dangerous is how I phrase it. And we have other people within Correct that actually know way more than I do about networking infrastructure, about routing, and all of that kind of thing. So for me, my networking knowledge is, as I said, enough to be dangerous. And that's one of the things that I actually quite liked about D-Link, Phil, because I had an opportunity to attend the D-Link switching and Wi-Fi training. And yeah, sure, I've done a lot of this stuff, but I've never actually spent a day sitting down and playing with switching and learning some of the stuff. David, your main man there, was running the course, and I learned a lot. It was a very valuable investment of my time. I knew a fair bit beforehand about, what VLANs could do and things like that, but other people at Correct do those things, and I personally never actually configured any of those things. I'm happy to say now, I'm quite happy to jump into and configure VLANs and spec out environments, because I have a great more understanding of that. And that's been predominantly based upon what I learned in the D-Link training. Okay. The guys won't let me touch our core data center switches, though. That's probably a good thing. I let them handle that.
Okay, so so with the training that you've done, how's that helped you out on site? Is there anything in there that's actually where you've been able to put that training into practice? Yeah,
absolutely. Look, there's a couple of things. One of the things that I am also responsible for is training our tech team. And I've been able to use a lot of the knowledge that I've learned through the D-Link training to enhance our, we have 25 or 30 techs, I've lost count, to enhance our tech team. And, we've put together some sessions of our own where, we look at the fact that just because you've got a link light on a switch doesn't mean to say that the port is active and that a port is not a port, because, you know, you can have things like VLANs now that will handle traffic differently. It's also been beneficial for me because whilst, you know, my day job is at Correct Solutions, my after hours thing is I'm the volunteer IT manager at my church.
Okay.
And when it came to looking at, when I took that role on, we had quite a large campus where we've got multiple buildings. We've got cabling of varying quality. Some of it's been done by volunteers and, well, we all know what that looks like. Some of it's been done by professional cablers. And we had a myriad, at church, we had a myriad of switches and Wi-Fi access points, all of which were sourced from Harvey Norman or JB Hi-Fi. So you can get a feel for the kind of consistency we didn't have, a feel of the environment that we didn't have.
Yeah.
Now, when it came time, as we were building like a new building, I had the opportunity to talk a little bit more to our board and say, hey guys, we need to think about the future and where we want to take things. And I got the guys from D-Link involved in that to look at what we wanted. We designed and spec'd out a switching environment that would allow us to support what we needed to do. We were fortunate to be able to get some fiber optic cabling in place that helped with the new building. And we went and rolled out the D-Link switches. It was good because I was able to do some of the training beforehand, before we rolled them out. I even had one of the volunteers on my IT team at church, young Isaac, do the training as well. He was 16 at the time he did the training, and Phil got him into that, which was actually really beneficial. So thanks for that, Phil.
Pleasure.
Isaac showed quite an aptitude, and actually he's now a trainee at Correct Solutions. So, you know, some bonus out of that. But that training gave us a common ground, and it meant that deploying of this gear wasn't just up to me. I had people that could actually help me with it. During the deployment, we had some fun and games. I mentioned earlier about the cabling, and, you know, we put a new D-Link switch here and a switch at the other end, and we ripped them out, and suddenly we didn't have communication between the 2 points, and we were trying to figure out, what did we do wrong? We immediately thought, well, we're getting link lights, but we're not getting communication, and we couldn't figure out what was happening. And one of the maybe little known features of the D-Link switching, and I think it's in many switches these days, is the cable testing. So we did a cable test, and we actually found out that we had a pair. It was a 30-meter cable, and about 20 meters down that cable, there was a broken pair. What that meant that the thing wasn't able to actually work at gigabit speeds. And of course, because we had crappy switching before, we had 100 meg hubs and switches before.
You wouldn't have known.
Wouldn't have known. Nobody knew. So, okay, we've got a broken pair. It's, you know, a Saturday. How do we fix that? Well, we just set the switching port down to 100 meg and on both sides, and it's still running to this day because we haven't had the budget to replace that particular cable run. In fact, nobody knows where that cable run goes.
Right,
it's
okay.
in a pipe somewhere. So we're a bit loath to actually try and pull a new cable through because we don't know what's going to happen. But that's some of the stuff that we've done using the D-Link switching. What we've also done using the D-Link Wi-Fi, and this is some really cool stuff that we did, was we set up, initially they had like, you know, one Wi-Fi zone, which meant that it was on the same zone as their main servers. And they had a process where if anybody wanted to come in and get Wi-Fi, here's Wi-Fi password, go for it. Yeah, not acceptable. Not in today's day where people can be, you know, accessing things in ways that we don't want them to, or maybe they've got malware on their computer and we don't even know about it. So we use the Wi-Fi and VLANing to split up the entire network to 4 zones. And we now let people get onto our internet zone, which is totally segregated from everywhere else, and they can't touch the main office zone. We've got our production gear running on another zone because, you know, when we're running a service, we've got things like audio and video and stuff like that running over it. We want to make sure that that is not interfered with in any way. We're shortly going to be expanding this whole environment to a 5th zone, which will be a BYOD zone, so that those people that have, you know, maybe a device that's a little bit more trusted, maybe they need access to our printers and things like that, they can get that and we can police that. And the Wi-Fi has given us that ability to do that. And one of the cool things that I like, you know, when we do our job well, nobody knows we've done our job. That's common with many of us, that, you know, the client's like, what am I paying you for? Nothing breaks. Well, that's why you're paying me.
Yeah.
Well, we had comments back from people going, wow, Wayne, the internet's doing really, really well. What did you do? Well, it wasn't the internet at all. It's the fact that we actually put stable, consistent Wi-Fi and switching in place. We still had the crappy DSL connection until more recently. But we did this deployment 2 years ago now, and pretty much hasn't missed a beat.
Good.
We've got redundancy built into it through stacked switches in some places. We've got a spare switch there in case we need something. It just works. It just sings and dances. And a lot of that is based around, a lot of the stuff we learned in the D-Link training. So, Phil, I can't talk about the D-Link training enough. Dave does a great job with it. And I love the fact that, it's free. It only takes a bit of my time.
Yeah, there was a question that John's just asked here. Please let me know the cost of a day's training on switching. Well, John, you'll be pleased to know for partners, there's no charge to it. So if you're not yet a partner, we'd certainly commend you to go and sign up. There'll be a slide up at the end there that'll point you to a website where you can go and do that. We don't have any dates booked for classroom training just yet. Of course, we're still across Australia in a COVID world, so we haven't quite got to the point where we're ready to open up, but we have been moving some of our training online with some networking essentials and fundamentals that are there. There's no certification courses that we're running at the minute. You can see here on this page here a quick overview of all of the different training that's available. Wayne, you were mentioning one of your juniors at the church went and did the training as well. This was the DNDA course that he did, the D-Link Network Design Associate. It's about 3 hours of self-paced video learning with an exam at the end of it. I think you've got a pretty good story to tell about him as to where he's managed to go. I imagine he's finished school. He's got his course. What's he doing now?
He's now a trainee at Telair, and he's handling help desk tickets. He's handling PC run-ups. He's handling and assisting us with all kinds of different things. He's got a pretty bright future, and part of that, the fact that he actually wanted on his own time to do the D-Link course made me really pay attention to him. Often when you've got a lot of volunteers doing things, they will do enough to get by, and this showed some commitment from the young fella. So, when we were looking for another trainee, we thought, well, we'll have a chat to him. And I actually did interview him. Our service manager, David, did. And David said, yeah, he's good enough. He meets the bar, and he's really kicking butt.
Okay, great stuff. Excellent, Wayne. Thanks for telling us a bit about your experience there this morning. If you could stick around for the Q&A at the end, that would be that'd be great as well.
Thanks, Phil.
Thank you, Wayne. So a little bit of you've seen the coursework there. Here is a link where you can go to access the online course material that has been done so far and register for future courses. So training.dlink.com.au. Go and create yourself a training account there. And next week, next Thursday at 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, is when we are running the third session on switch training, where we're going to be covering spanning tree, protocol and loops and so on. So pretty common network fault and how to go about diagnosing and fixing those as well. Okay, last but not least in our lineup this morning, I'd like to welcome Chris and John from Telair. Good morning, gentlemen.
Hey guys, how you going?
Good morning, John. Great to have you. Great to have you here online with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Great. So, what would be great would be to get just a quick overview about Telair and what your role is at Telair.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the network manager at Telair. Telair is a national ISP. We're focused on delivering high quality data and voice products to the SMB market. We operate a national network of data centers and we interconnect to all major Australian carriers. Our focus is to deliver solutions to customers that fit their specific needs rather than delivering like cookie cutter solutions. Our customers choose us based on the solutions we provide. They stay with us because we provide a reliable network, and our network is core to that kind of offering.
Terrific. So I guess tell us a bit about your the network infrastructure. You mentioned you've got that running nationally. Where are all your points of presence, and what's the equipment that you're running in those data centers?
Yeah, so we're based across 7 points of presence in Australia. That's varying from Queensland to Victoria, Western Australia, New South Wales, obviously. And we're obviously running the DXS 5000s there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of these different types of switches that are in the market. Why did you choose these ones?
Yeah, so I think it was early last year, wasn't it, Chris? I can't remember.
It was, yeah. Right.
Yeah, early last year, we pretty much reached capacity on our previous network design, and well, we definitely reached port capacity on our previous network design. So we were really looking for something that obviously had a higher port density to meet the need for future interconnection growth. But we're also looking for things like wire speed, and obviously the DXS 5000 meets that easily with, I think it's 1.4 terabits or something. That's the
it's very fast
volume capacity.
Yeah.
We're also looking for something that was bare metal, because we wanted to have options for different operating systems, to allow us, for potential network redesign in the future, and potentially abstracting away from the routers for the layer 3 capabilities.
Okay.
And then there's also other things like the power and cooling redundancy. The power is obviously dual powered and hot swappable, same with the fans. And then the cost is also really good, comparing it to, Dell and Cisco, which were the other switches we were looking at.
Okay.
They were considerably more expensive for more, if not less specifications,
Yeah, so I mean, that's a good question that you raised here. I was about to ask you, so was there anything that you're missing out on from having a D-Link switch at a fraction of the cost of Dell or Cisco? But it sounds like perhaps there's not really anything you're missing out on.
No. I think the other bare metal switches we were looking at, they were only about 2 gigabytes compared to the DXS's 8 gigabytes for RAM.
Oh, this is RAM, yeah.
Yep, and then the DXS also had a larger MAC table as well, so that was one of the deciding factors.
We were looking at these. The final decision for us came down to the D-Link switch versus a fiber store switch.
Okay.
And there were, in a direct comparison, the specs on the D-Link were higher. The support was going to be better. We had the account relationship and everything like that. It really wasn't a contest when you sort of really looked at it. Other than sort of D-Link, we could have been looking at sort of Cisco. But sort of Cisco is very expensive for what it does. The capabilities, what it can do, isn't actually really any different. You're paying for the name. Otherwise, you can look at some cheaper Cisco alternatives, or running some of their older gear. Previously, in such deployments, I've run sort of Cisco 6500 switches, which are huge and cumbersome. They have low port density. And they have huge power supplies which draw half your rack allocation, so they're just incredibly impractical. And you can see in the picture you've got up on the screen down the bottom of that little quarter rack, we've got 2 of your 48 port switches. That density of 10 gig ports is amazing for us, because we're interconnecting to all of the major carriers at every one of our pots. And prior to doing this, we were interconnecting to them on 1 gig head ends, and we would just fill those up so quickly, have to put another one in, and it's a logistical nightmare. So being able to just replace all of that with 10 gig, you can see they've got the 40 gig uplinked into those switches, and that's going into our core routers. So at the same time as we're doing this, we were virtualizing our core routing. So we loved the fact that this was a bare metal switch, and we could be running some interesting software on there in the future. I mean, we chose to go with the D-Link software straight off the bat, and there's no plan to replace it at the moment. It's working really well for us.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess it just gives you some flexibility to do some different things in the future. So on that product, we've got some software from Pluribus that you can buy for that today, and there's other vendors that we are working with in terms of getting compatibility with our switches and their software as well. So the installation implementation process. Tell us a bit about that.
You can
Is there
start
much to say?
Yeah, well, I mean, so I think we were some of the first people to get these switches in the country, which is pretty exciting.
Yep.
So I think we got 12 straight off the bat. We sort of obviously we spun them up, got the software installed on them in our lab and ran some testing. You know, they do exactly what they say on the tin. Everything's done by CLI, and there's a huge CLI guide, but really the CLI on these switches is different from some of the other D-Link switches. It's quite practical. It's fairly similar to a Cisco CLI.
Okay.
And which is great, because it means most people can kind of just log in and
Sure.
use it.
Sure.
We needed to get some support, which D-Link sorted out for us. We were dealing with some of their team over in America as well, who were providing some sort of more in-depth support on the configuration.
Sure.
But everything was pre-configured before we deployed into the data centers. You know, we just shipped them straight to the data centers and went and did the deployment ourselves. Is not a huge story to tell, really. It just worked.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
one of the few elements that did.
Okay, well, I'm sorry to hear there's not much of a story there, but maybe when installing core networking equipment, maybe that's maybe
you
that's
don't want a story. Yeah.
So once they've been installed, how have they performed? What are your customers saying? Have they noticed anything?
Yeah, so we currently have them set up across the 7 data centers, as I said before. They just aggregate all our interconnections. We use the 40 gigabit ports to connect to our hosting platform, and that hosting platform runs all our virtualized routers. And then obviously all the 10 gigabit ports aggregate all our interconnections, as you can see in the pictures. We also have the management port and console port hooked up to our out-of-band management. You'll see that it's the open gear in one of those pictures.
Yep.
And yeah, we've had no complaints from customers, and our capacities, increased 10 times, if not 20 times, on what it was before. And traffic volumes are up, and we have no complaints. So yeah, that's the best story you can tell.
Great, terrific.
Yeah, I think the plan was to put these switches in and to be able to not have to worry about them for the next 5 to 10 years, and it looks like we're on track to do that.
Okay.
I think we'll probably tweak and change other parts of our solution. But next time we deploy another data center, we'll just deploy the same D-Link switch. They're great.
Yep. Okay. Excellent. Great. Thanks very much for that. If you're interested in reading a bit more, there is the case study that you can find on our website with an interview there with Ed Wenman, the managing director and founder of Telair as well. Chris and John, thanks very much for your time here. It's great to have you online this morning.
No worries. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. So what happens next? So there is an NFR offer that we do have available for completing a survey at the end of the webinar. So here's some details on that here. We've got some great pricing that is available on our 1210, 1510, 3130, and the 3630 switches that are available here. So please do complete that survey, and you'll get details as to how to go about purchasing those products. With, of course, the instant write-off that is available from governments, this could be a really good time to go and do that. Of course, all of our product is available from the following distributors as well. In both Australia and New Zealand, there's Ingram Micro and Cenex. In Australia, we've got Blue Chip Infotech, EdSys, Hills, Multimedia Technology, and Pacific Datacom as well. So if you're not yet signed up as a partner, we'd certainly encourage you to do that. So that you can do at dlink.com.au/rewards or dlink.co.nz/rewards. And where, if you're not a partner today, you'll certainly get the benefits of being a partner with some upfront discounts on all of our range of products. So certainly the higher up the stack you go. So from our 1210, 1510, 3130 series of switches and beyond, there's upfront discounts that you get there. We want our partners to be able to help you to be able to support your customers, to be able to make some good margin when you're selling our product as well. We do have a rewards program, as the name suggests, where there's gift cards that every purchase that you make of business product can help you achieve a goal each quarter to be able to redeem for e-gift cards as well. Being a partner, you do get access to different incentives that we do run throughout the quarter as well. I know that Mitch has been the beneficiary of a couple of D-Link Nucleus bar fridges that he has in his office down there in Orange. That was a promotion that we ran in Q4, so the December quarter last year. We've got run that is just finishing in a couple of weeks' time, where there's a Amazon Echo that you can, if you achieve your target, given to you by your account manager, that there's an Amazon Echo which is available as a reward for doing that. Again, there's our distributors where all of our product is available for purchase, so both across Australia and also New Zealand. I'll leave this screen up here just for a little bit. Just covering across all of the key contacts for D-Link. Myself, Phil, National Sales Manager here in Australia. Across Australia, we've got a great team of account managers or channel managers and pre-sales engineers based up in Brisbane. We have Bernie Reisenberger, who looks after Queensland and the Northern Territory. Bernie's certainly a real asset for our team. He's been with D-Link for just over 12 years, really well respected within the Queensland and the NT market. As Mitch alluded to before, Michael is certainly a great traveller all around New South Wales and ACT, and there's no reason for Michael not to come and see you. So please get in touch with Michael if you're in New South Wales or Canberra to have a chat about how D-Link can come and help you to be able to grow your business and to get the right switch for your business. And based down in Melbourne, we've got Colin Chamberlain. You think Bernie's been here a long time at 12 years. Colin has been with the D-Link business for at least 15, if not very close to 20 years. Big territory to cover, taking in Tasmania, South Australia and WA, but again, a really well-respected and a well-loved member of our team here as well. Supporting these guys, and they certainly, our channel managers can't do it on their own, are our pre-sales engineers, David Urbano, who supports Bernie and Michael, and Aaron Bilton, who support Colin. David based in Sydney and Aaron based in Melbourne. So both Aaron and David have been running our online switch fundamentals training. We've got another session next Thursday. Please go and catch those previous recordings of that at training.dlink.com.au and go and get yourself registered for one of those webinars as well. And since the start of this year, we now have some feet on the ground in New Zealand with Paul Batchelor joining the D-Link team based in Wellington. Paul has got great pedigree, great experience in this networking space. So if you haven't yet heard from Paul, we'd certainly encourage you to get in touch with him. Okay, Now is my favourite time of these webinars is coming through to our Q&A sessions. So please, if you've got questions, please get these things typed in here. With some of our technical sessions that we've done, there's been lots of those questions. Perhaps there's not so many coming through today. Let's just have a bit of a quick look. Question here from Ashwin. Is there any chance of coming to Central Australia or to Alice Springs? Ashwin, certainly there is an opportunity to do that. If you'd like to complete the survey and any of your comments in there, if you could drop your details in there, and we'll be sure to get in touch with you with that. As Mitch did suggest, we did make a special trip out to his office out at Orange. We did have around about somewhere between 8 and 10 of his engineers that we did train across that day. So certainly getting a number of people to attend those sessions would certainly help us justify the cost. We do run sessions up in Darwin. I know that Darwin is not entirely local to Adelaide, but certainly a little bit more local than perhaps some of the other venues that we do visit as well. We also do run training and have run training in Adelaide, so maybe that is an option there. But Ashwin, if you'd like to drop your details in the survey, that would be excellent. So Mac here has got a question. Is training done online, or is that to be done in a class? So Mac, we've got a couple of different training courses for any of the full certification courses. They are classroom sessions, which are, Wayne, you might like to talk about this. They're typically 50% theory and then 50% hands-on. Certainly in the switching course, there's a set of broken cables that you're given to try to determine which cable is broken and how to go about remedying that. There's VLANs which are set up. There's loops which are then created in there, so to help you to go and get a real life hands-on example of those things there. So those full certification courses, they are done in a class. We haven't quite thought that we're able to replicate something like that online just yet. Wayne, maybe you'd like to give some feedback on that as to whether you think that you'd be able to deliver a course like that online.
Look, one of the beauties of face-to-face training that you can't do online is literally having a couple of switches to connect together. And one of the labs we did was where we were working in pairs, and we had 2 pairs of people connecting switches together and getting spanning tree protocol working and things like that. You can't simulate that online. You need to actually physically be there and actually play with them. And there's a lot of varied experiences you have in the people too. So yep, it's great that you're trying to do as much of this online, Phil, and I applaud the effort you're going through in this current situation, but I don't think that you could actually easily replace that with actually getting into the switch and the variations of things that you'll get when you actually play with the product, hands-on.
So I think there was something that you were saying yesterday when we were chatting, Wayne, in terms of, one thing that you liked about our training was about, I guess it was, I can't exactly remember the phrase that you used, but that we were here actually helping rather than telling.
Yeah, look, I think that a lot of resellers, my personal opinion is that a lot of resellers today would like everything just given the solutions on a platter. And that removes the ability for them to actually learn how to implement the technologies. Whereas if you actually learn how things work under the covers, you can then go, all right, well, I did this for customer A. The customer B, it's not quite the same as customer A, but because I now have learned more, as opposed to just being given a cookie cutter solution, I can actually do more with it. Using the training again as an example, when we implemented the Wi-Fi at church, one of the things I remember David clearly talking about was about how different signal strengths of Wi-Fi could be, affected by different wall thicknesses, wall types, things like that. And so I arrived at church one Sunday morning to find out that they decided to move a coffee cart that they normally have in one location, which we planned and designed the Wi-Fi for, to another location just outside the main glass doors of the main building. And they were worried because the Wi-Fi was working and not working, working and not working. And they told me, Wayne, it's broken. Well, the techie in me said, well, you didn't tell me you were going to do this. But then I had to quickly come up with a solution and figure out why. The reason it was broken was because they had the glass entrance doors that would open and close. And when they're open, the Wi-Fi would work just fine. But the glass doors also had some very reflective and metallized film on them, which was absolutely killing the Wi-Fi strength. We were very quickly able to provision another access point, put it on a cable and, basically run it so that it sat on the ground outside. But it was the training that David had, and specifically when he was talking about, the different surfaces and things like that. I don't think you can learn that kind of thing as easily over any kind of, computer-based training module. It's the real-world experiences that Dave has that contributed to me being able to figure out what problem was in minutes, as opposed to scratching my head and wondering what the heck was going on.
Well, I guess you go into a classroom as well, which typically has got anywhere from 10 to 16 other people in it. There's a whole bunch of shared experience and shared knowledge that you get from those people in the room as well.
Totally agree with that. It's sharing stories like this that might allow somebody else on this call to actually go, I've got to look at that.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you right now, it's not easy. One of the other things that somebody shared with me recently that I also saw at this particular environment was we would do pre-service checks on everything, where we'd walk around and make sure that everything was working fine. And of course it always was. But then post-service, we found that we were having problems with FPOS machines not working and iPads dropping out.
Yeah.
We ended up finding out it was because we had a number of people that had cars. And in those cars, they had the Blackview webcams. Those Blackview webcams have a very high-powered Wi-Fi access point built into them, running at 2.4 gig, which was stomping all over some of the signals that we got. So being able to look at things like that, using some of the D-Link gear to figure that out, we actually then moved all of our iPads up to the 5 gig range, took away their ability to work at 2.4, and suddenly our problems go away. So seeing things like that and hearing stories like that, it was something that somebody said in the Wi-Fi training course that made me think outside the box like that.
Yep. Okay, that's great. Thanks, Wayne. Marcus is on here. Marcus is quite excited about some of the NFR offers that we have available today. So that's great, Marcus. We look forward to seeing your survey and getting you the coupon code there. Okay, what I might do is with John, Chris, and Mitch, I might see if there's any final comments that you gentlemen have got before we wrap up today's session. Mitch, we might start with you.
Honestly, I can't say enough good things about my D-Link experience. It's been great. Good products. You can annoy the crap out of them and they still like you and they still come to visit you. Yes, the beer fridges are good, and Crocombe usually puts beer in the beer fridge when he comes to visit.
Yep.
But yeah, look, guys, the support my guys get from D-Link team's great. Even though Wayne got to talk about the training, most of my guys have done the training and they loved it and it was really good.
Yep.
I'm stoked.
Great, terrific. Thanks, Mitch. Appreciate it. John, Chris, any closing comments?
Yeah, I think I would just agree with Mitch there. Great support. Like Chris mentioned before, we didn't have any issues with the switches and deployment. But when we did have some issues with getting our head around the configuration, support provided us with configuration examples, and that was really helpful. Great warranty, with the limited lifetime and advanced replacement. And there's no compromise. The DXS 5000 is one of the cheaper bare metal switches around for its capabilities. And, the more expensive modules from different vendors actually lacked in memory specs. And, Mac table size.
Yep.
Yeah,
Terrific.
you can't say enough about the support that D-Link provides. I think that's kind of the key. It was one of the decision factors when we chose to switch, but it's paid off many times. And it's a comfort to know that, you know, the D-Link team are there and they will help us out. You know, there's no doubt.
Terrific. That's great.
And
Well,
they're even nice when you screw things up yourself and to beat you around the head with the sticky bits.
yeah, we've got a really good team, and you know, we're really committed to maintaining that all around the country. We've, you know, been in Australia for a very long time, in excess of 25 years. So yeah, we've got a really long-term commitment both to the Australian and to the New Zealand market, and yeah, we can't do it without our partners. And we want to be here to support all of you, which is why we've got these great NFR deals to get product into your hands, to get you experiencing these things. These NFR deals that we're offering on today's webinar are a little bit different to the ones that we're offering on the Switch webinar. So please do have a look at the survey. Do have a look at those models that are there, and you too could be like Wayne and have DGS 1510s all throughout your home network. Great. Well, thank you, gentlemen. It's great to have had you on here today. Ilya, I'm sorry we didn't get to hear from you today, but a nice wave to you. I know you've got lots of fans out there, but
no problem. I think the webinar without me was even better.
That's not possible, Ilya. Not possible. Okay. Well, if there's no further questions through here today, I'd like to thank our panelists, Chris, John, Mitch, and Wayne, for joining us today, and I'd also like to thank all of our guests that have been here today as well. We look forward to welcoming you next week to our next webinar on switching, the last in our series of 3, and we'll also be announcing shortly another webinar looking at our newly released thermal temperature sensing camera, which is of course pretty topical at the moment. We've got a couple of sites that are going live with that over the next week or so. So we look forward to sharing some good news there, and helping you to be able to support your customers, whether it be switching, wireless, or surveillance, or routing, to be able to helping you to deliver a seamless service that your customers don't even know it's there. It's a very good day from me, and thank you very much for your time.